Hello, hello. Welcome to day 3 of the Selfish System Masterclass. Okay. So if you're coming on live, say hello, please, so I can see. And also check that my comments are working. And if you're watching the replay, say hey as well. Hashtag replay is the usual the norm to put in, so I can keep track of who's watching, who's catching up. Okay, we are going to dive right in. So today's day 3. We have had, hello people popping in. Okay, we have had the pre-work, right? Where you got clear on what the problem is that you're struggling with. Hi, Haley, yay. And so if you haven't watched the pre-work, I pinned all of the videos to the top of the group. Okay, so up there, you can scroll back to the first ones, and I've edited the title so it's a bit easier. So there's pre-work, that's where you start there. And then day 1, day 2, and now day 3. So the pre-work, I asked you to get clear on what your problem is, okay? And how badly, 1 to 10, do you want to work on it? What would it mean to you to have this problem solved? You want to get very, very clear on like what the goal is, you know? Then we had day 1. Day 1, just a quick summary, I invited you to approach your problems differently, to see them as opportunities, but also to see them as symptoms. Okay, because we very much approach our symptoms as though they're the problem, right? It's like, oh, I'm struggling with anxiety, I'm struggling with weight, I'm struggling with smoking, drinking, whatever it may be, right? I'm struggling with this chronic pain and with stomach issues. Like, again, whatever the problem is, it is very, very likely a symptom, not the actual problem, right? And so we want to also approach the symptoms differently. And I invited you to do that day 1, okay? Then the idea being that what has the approach until now hasn't been working very well, right? So let's try a different approach. Let's look at it differently. Let's approach the symptoms differently. The symptoms are here to help us. They are messengers. They are signals that something isn't working. They're inviting us to listen, okay? Day 2. Day 2, quick summary. I ran very quickly through my model, right? And how it does help you to do things differently and more specifically find what works for you, because there is no one size fits all. There are many tools that are universally beneficial, like meditation, like yoga, like journaling, like gratitude practice. Like all of these tools are like very mainstream now, and you know, we love them. I love them. I'm an advocate for them because they are awesome and they are universally awesome. Like they are great practices and tools to have in your toolbox. However, when it comes to solving your specific problem, it is a very personal problem with all the factors and experiences that only you have had. And so what has worked for one person might not work for you. So it is very much helping you navigate the problem solving process, right? So my model is really there to help give you a foundation and a framework so that you can get to the root cause, figure out what the underlying problem is, and then get educated and do the research and figuring out what the best, like how to customize a solution to yourself and to your own specific needs. Okay, so that was covered in day 2. Just a quick summary as well of the model itself. There's the 4 C's, right? The 4 pillars: curiosity, conditioning, conditions, and commitment. And then there's also the framework itself of the problem-solving strategy that I adapted from the business consulting world, which is investigation, discovery, education, application. IDEA, the IDEA model. Easy to remember. IDEA. Investigation, discovery, education, application. Okay. And that leads us to today, day 3. I said we will cover the commitment piece because in day 2 we did cover a bit of the 4 pillars. I ran through it very quickly: the curiosity, conditioning, conditions, and commitment. And I said that commitment is what we'll focus on today, and I've chosen to focus on that in day 3, and in the masterclass to focus on this piece because I find that it is probably the most important piece when it comes to this work, because commitment, it's the piece that covers my entire model. I will share an image, a PDF, a worksheet. I have it on a background, but I don't want to do. I used to do a weather girl thing, and I don't want to do that today. I'll put together a worksheet or a workbook or something, and I'll send that, and I'll share that with the group. So the commitment piece literally encapsulates the entire model because it is that important. Commitment is where you start. I also said that I will be sharing how to get started, where to start, right? It's committing. It is committing to yourself. It is committing to the process. It is committing to finding whatever is going to work for you. It is committing to taking the steps. It's committing to showing up for yourself every day. It is committing to making a decision every day to choose you, to choose yourself and your health and your happiness. It is the first big step. It's the first leap of faith. It is, you know what, I am going to believe that I can help myself. I am going to believe that I can heal myself. I am going to believe that I can heal and that I can be better and that I can feel better and that I can do better and that I can know better and that there is a way out. I am going to believe that this is something possible and that I can do. I'm going to believe that life gets to be better and I can do that for myself, and I will. And it is committing to that. It is finding the drive, the motivation to make that decision every day, to intentionally focus, and it's the fuel. It is literally what is going to get you out of bed every morning. It is what is going to get you journaling every morning. It is what is going to get you committing to a walk or yoga practice or a meditation practice or whatever it is that's going to work for you, that you're going to say, yes, I'm going to try that. I'm going to, everyone's talking about it. I'm going to try and see what's so good about it, right? But it's like, this is the piece that you begin with, commitment. It's saying, you know what? I want to make a promise to myself and keep it. I want to be a woman of my word to myself, right? Now, this is something also very, very radical and rebellious and difficult to do in our society because our society is very much designed in a way that it will work against us, right? We live in a society that is a pill pushing, trigger happy kind of society, right? Like shooting pills, just that's the solution, that's the answer. Let's just cover it up and keep going. We live on a society that has us in this hamster wheel of like, we just got to keep going, get through it, push through it, man up, just drink through it, just do whatever, just like get through it, mind over matter. Oh, that was my mother's motto, mind over matter, just keep going. And again, it does serve us in some situations, but as a whole, I can see how damaging that is to such a big demographic. Like that. I find this also in general, like in social media and just in mainstream in general, kind of the quotes and the advice and the things that are put out there. It's like go and the hustler mentality and like just work hard, play hard, work hard and yes, for some people, but for others, no. And the idea is that I can help you discern what is for you and what isn't. What is good advice? What's not? What is something that is aligned with you and what isn't? right? Discernment is this very, very important piece of navigating life. It's not just blindly trusting doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and specialists and experts. It's not like, do you know how many doctors have gotten things wrong? For my mother, with her cancer, they got it very wrong. They misdiagnosed her. They put on 10 rounds of chemo, which she didn't need. Like, I'm telling you. And I know that some people have had great experiences with their doctors, but there is a ridiculous amount of bad experiences with doctors, which means that there is room for improvement, like big time, right? I've had shrinks get things wrong with me. I fired my last shrink and very much considered reporting her because she was very unethical. But there's a lot of room for improvement. And the point is of what I'm trying to do with my work is give you the power back, really, to self-lead, be a self-advocate, and really realize that you are way more capable than you realize. So, in our society, we're on this hamster wheel. We have comparisonitis, if you've heard of that, constantly comparing to everyone else. I'm not as good as that one. I'm not as successful as that person. I'm not as rich. I'm not as skinny. I'm not as clever. I'm not as, like, we compare ourselves constantly. And that in and of itself is hinders our self-growth and our self-actualization, because we're constantly looking at everyone else. We're not focusing on our own lane. We're not committing to our own lane. We're looking at everyone else and saying, I'm not good enough. There's this peer pressure to perform, right? It's like, I have to be better. I have to be the best. I have to be as good as that person. Why am I not as good as that person, right? And it's also the examples that we have, right? If everyone around you is drinking, you're going to want to drink. You're going to be like, well, they're doing it. If everyone around you is popping Xanax and Valium and on Prozac, then it completely desensitizes you to the fact that they're symptom suppressing. And it's like, well, they're on it. That, everyone around me is popping pills, so why can't I? Like, it makes it so hard to do things differently, right? That's why I asked in day one, what are the examples around you? We learn by example, right? Get really curious and question what is influencing you subconsciously. I mean, even one of my biggest kind of criticisms as well is with kids today and ADHD, right? ADD, ADHD. We're giving kids Adderall. I've tried Adderall. It is like cocaine. I've tried cocaine too. Like, I can tell you, it's not that I read it somewhere. I have personally tried both drugs and they are very similar in their effect. It is ridiculous. And because a child refuses to sit still in a classroom and conform to the school system is literally a social experiment. And it started like 150 years ago with the Industrial Revolution to train people to be good factory workers. And we're still with the same system in most of the world. Finland has managed to change and update their education system. It's called the Finnish phenomenon. Go watch it on YouTube. It's great. I don't know why the rest of the world hasn't caught on yet and caught up, but because a child won't fit in with what the social standard is of how a child should behave, which is actually going against his natural inclinations, then we will drug him or her. And we're desensitized to that. We don't look at it like that. Like, oh, he's got ADHD. Yeah, we've given him pills. it's just, I don't know, it blows my mind. Anywho, so yeah, society, as you can see, I'm quite like passionate about it. And yes, there are exceptions. There are most definitely exceptions. But instead of it being, let's just give everyone pills and everyone drugs and everyone meds and just suppress all the symptoms, I say, let's go the other direction. Let's only give it to the few that really, really, really need it. There is a chemical imbalance. There is a genetic kind of difference, that there is something that you know what, I would support any decision that someone makes based on the fact that they are choosing their own health, their own happiness, their own wellness, and they really believe and feel that the only way that they will be able to function and work on themselves is if they take medication, and that medication would be temporary until they improve. Like, let's say it's like if you have multiple symptoms, like multiple underlying root problems. Let's say you have ADHD and CPTSD and I don't know what else, some like chronic pain, and it's like that is a lot for your system to handle. So in that kind of situation, yeah, I totally understand how it would be valid and logical even to medicate to be able, like, the most problematic of the problems so that you can function and work on the others. And then when you're better in those other areas, then you can wean off those meds. The goal would be to be without meds, med-free, because this is designed to function in this like beautiful, miraculous way that we don't understand how this has even come to be. Right? So like it's trusting your system, it's trusting your body. Like when I was pregnant, I didn't question my body. I checked, I made tests, I made sure that everything was okay and that everything was healthy and working and everything was functioning and good. You know, I made sure that I was giving it the right conditions. My body was getting the water. I removed the junk food and the sugary food. And like, I really, my first pregnancy, I was just like hardcore strict with like health. I did not like, I wanted to make sure that my body was this like the best condition it could be in for creating a human. I took it a bit like, oh, but never mind. Point is that it did its thing. Nature did its thing. It's designed to do something, and I trusted that it was going to do it, and it did it. You know, and so I'm just saying that we don't trust this enough, and we're not taught to. Right? We're not told that we can. So basically, it's a different approach to problems. And it's also a different approach to yourself, right? Your own capabilities. And I would invite you to view it in two ways. I called this day 3, like the CEO self, committing to yourself. But before I get to the CEO self piece, I want to invite you to look at it as a relationship with yourself. Like you are now entering a relationship, a commitment, a marriage, if you want, with yourself. Right? And when you go into a relationship with someone, one of the basic kind of things that I would recommend you do, but that I'm assuming you would do, is checking that you have the same kind of values, right? The same core values. And so I ask you, you're entering a relationship with yourself. What do you value? What are your values? And that is going to be a piece of your homework for today, is really getting clarity around what you value. If you don't know, there are some great websites. I'll pop a link below afterwards to a good website, just like with values. Get very clear on, there's personal values, there's professional values. I also like to kind of separate them because they can be different, right? So if you have your own business or something, or the way you show up in your career and in work, they can be different. But with you, with yourself, what are your values? Get very, very clear on that. And then also, I would then invite you hold on. If, for example, you value honesty, how honest are you with yourself? If you value loyalty, how loyal are you to yourself? What does that mean? How does that look like? How does it show up? If you value kindness, this one is a big one. How kind are you to yourself? And if you remember in day one, I said I love looking up definitions. If you have looked up the definition of kindness, I'm assuming you haven't because you know what it means, right? Did you know that kindness is also defined, I'm looking up for the, where is it? Unconditionally kind. There is a condition with kindness. Hold on. I can't find it now. I'll find the exact definition that I found before. Here we go, on Wikipedia. Okay. Kindness is a type of behavior marked by acts of generosity, consideration, rendering assistance or concern for others without expecting praise or reward in return. How often do we say to ourselves, oh yeah, I'll do this or I'll do that if I go to the gym, I'll say well done to myself. If I'm really, really productive today, then I'll feel good about myself. If like when I do this, when I do that, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be able to be kind to myself. Then I'll be able to like speak nicely to myself. Well, bullshit, because when any of that happens or whatever it is, whatever condition you've put upon yourself to be kind to yourself happens, when you get there, there'll be something else that you want to be doing, that you'll want to, the next level of achievement that you want to be achieving. And when we do achieve, we don't really celebrate ourselves that much. And if you're someone who is very harsh on yourself and tough on yourself, that is your pattern. That is your familiar. That is what is safe to your system. So that is the way it's going to be, regardless of the conditions, regardless of what you have achieved and what you do. And I'm telling you, it's a real thing. Like I can tell you very much on a, like even with my clients, I see it. They make huge achievements. And then within a week or two, they've forgotten that. They're already on the next thing. They're focusing on the next thing that they're not doing that's good enough. They've completely forgotten the achievement that they just had. I can tell you myself, I live a like pinch me life, literally. The amount of achievement and success that I have had in my own journey. And I'm making a daily conscious effort to focus on that and to realize that and to acknowledge that, because I don't. Because my programming, my conditioning is not to. I'm very, very aware of the fact that I'm like, shit. Register it, register the success, register the achievement, register all the good. And it is because it's so overwhelming. Like you get to a point where it's so overwhelmingly good. It's like, I am not allowed to enjoy that much. I'm not allowed to be that happy. I'm not allowed to feel that much success. Like it is very surreal and very much of like a mind fuck to realize that we stop ourselves from being happy to such an extent. Like it is such a threat to the system to feel happy. So really got to check what your values are and get curious about what's going on with how you speak to yourself and how you treat yourself. Treat yourself the way you want to be treated. We show people subconsciously how to treat us. We really, really do. It's like if you don't have boundaries expect to be disrespected. Hands down. But in order to have boundaries, you need to be aware of what you want and being able to ask for what you want and being aware of what you need and respecting those needs and prioritizing yourself and your needs, and then setting the boundary and then maintaining the boundary so that your needs are respected and are met. And if that doesn't happen, if that's not there, you will be disrespected. But we don't, instead of it being like, I'm constantly being disrespected, that person's always disrespecting me. What is wrong with them? Do they not realize? Do they not know? And I say, you cannot control anybody else. You cannot change other people. You can help someone who wants to be helped, but you cannot change others. You can only focus on yourself and change yourself, not yourself, but the things about you, right, that don't serve you, the behaviors, the patterns, the beliefs. You only have control over this, how you respond to people and how open you are to questioning things. It's not necessarily about them. It's actually me. Where is my responsibility in the situation? What can I do that will create a different reality for myself? That person's disrespecting me. Okay. I'm going to have to put stronger boundaries. That's something I can do. And if that person still disrespects me, then the boundary is going to get even stronger and I will not have that person in my life. Just an example, right? But it's about the relationship with yourself. Communicating with yourself. What's right? What's wrong? How does that feel? There's a feedback loop that is very important that we've been suppressing and avoiding. We need it to know how to discern what is good, what is not good. Okay. And then beyond the self-talk is, when it comes to self-talk, I'll always remember when I was in my coaching course in my master's, then we had to do like rotations, coach and coachee as practice, right? And so when I was the coachee, I remember the coach asking me, you know, what it is that I want to work on. And it was very much made, it was brought to my awareness that I was being very critical of people. I was living with my brother at the time and he was like, you're very critical. You criticize a lot. And I was like, oh shit. So I said I wanted to work on my criticism on being so critical, because it's something that I didn't want to be. I didn't like that about myself. I wanted to change it. I was owning it. And I said, and the coach said to me, how do you speak to yourself? How critical are you of yourself? Are you also inwardly critical and, you know, inner critic? And I was just like, oh shit. Now, at first, it was very hard for me to identify the self-talk. How do I even speak to myself? I don't actually speak. It's not like I couldn't identify actual words that were being said. It was more of a feeling, right? So it was like very intangible. It was like very hard for me at first to figure out how I was speaking to myself. But then with practice, opening up to like listening to this inner dialogue, right? Because it isn't really listening. It's like feeling, right? It's like, how does that feel? I'm feeling like I'm judging myself. I'm feeling ashamed. I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling like I'm telling myself that I'm bad, you know, and then like you really start getting more comfortable, I guess, and used to this being aware of the inner dialogue, bringing it to your awareness. And can I just say that we, at least I, but I know many others are like me, we are self-abusive, like abusive. If I was in a relationship with someone who spoke to me the way I used to speak to myself, wow. Like it is shocking. I was horrified at how I spoke to myself. And the thing is as well is that I use this kind of tip a lot with my clients as well. We're all literally children still walking around in like adult meat suits, right? Like we're very much operating on the memories, the experiences, the conditioning, the programming that of like our inner child, right? So when you see like the inner child work and stuff like that, that's why it's so relevant and important and profound and potent and why it works so well, like the inner child healing and inner child work, is because we're like, this is based on everything in our childhood, you know, like that's when we're very much programmed, right? So the programming that we're operating on as adults comes from childhood. And so speaking to ourselves would be very similar to like how you would speak to a child. So how would you speak to a child? If a child came to you saying, I'm so overwhelmed, I have so much to do, I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this, and I was like, oh my God, and I can't do it all and I don't know what to do, and I just, oh my God, and I'm like, right? If that's how you're feeling, what would you say to that child? Would you say, don't be lazy, get up, just push through it, keep going, what's wrong with you? Why can't you handle this one thing? Like you've got just, everyone else is fine, everyone else is doing it, what the hell is wrong with you? That's how we speak to ourselves, FYI. And that's like a gentle one. Like we are really, really harsh on ourselves. And when you kind of put it out there and be like, imagine you're speaking to a kid and that's what you're saying to a child, that's like, wow, you know? So I would invite you to practice identifying your self-talk. How do you speak to yourself? And how kind are you? What are the conditions there on being kind to yourself? Like, are you really being kind or is it conditional, right? So like being kind is when you're not expecting anything in return. It's just be kind. You're speaking, like speak to yourself like you would speak to a child. If a child came to you saying how overwhelmed they are and stressed and they're it's like, okay, how can I help? I got you. Come on, I'll help you do this. What do you need? Relax, slow down, go lie down for a bit. Let's figure this out. Let's make a list, right? Let's prioritize all the things that you have to do, and let's start from the most important and one day at a time. And you know, you would problem solve, right? You'd be like, I want to help this child. Let's figure out how we can do it. So it's very helpful, I have found, to kind of externalize your self-talk. Imagine that it's how you would talk to a child, and then make sure that you're being kind, because we're not. And that, like, changing our self-talk takes a lot of practice, but it takes a commitment, right? It's like I choose every day to practice being nicer to myself. You are stuck in here for your whole life. You are stuck in here. Like, that's it. This is where you live. You might as well make it a nice place to be, right? I don't know if I mentioned this on day 1 or day 2, but it's like the only person that will never leave you is you. It is the most important relationship that you will ever have. And the best one, because you're never going to leave. Like literally. It is worth everything to work on the relationship with yourself. It is the most important relationship you will ever, ever, ever have. And so when you speak to a kid, right, I don't know, the parents among you, positive reinforcement is very important. And to the wives and the girlfriends here, it works with our husbands too, right? Positively reinforce the good behavior. It works with ourselves as well. It really does. In organizations as well, we have found through a lot of study and research that employees respond very, very well and perform a lot better when they are recognized and acknowledged and feel appreciated, right? Like, all of you can, I think, agree with me that when you've been in a job, in the workplace, and you've been appreciated, it feels so good. And it literally motivates you to do well. Like, I remember when I was in my favorite job that I had as an employee, and it was at the Ritz-Carlton, and it was the first year I had a GM, and he acknowledged and appreciated me, and it made such a difference. It gave me so much drive to perform. And then the new GM, when he came along, they switched the GMs. It wasn't the same. And after a year, I quit, I resigned. But it's like appreciation and being recognized for your efforts goes such a long way. Those of you in relationships and in marriages, you know that too. If you feel appreciated in your relationship and in your marriage, wow. Right? Which leads me to the CEO self. Okay. Committing to yourself is like, it's a relationship with yourself, but I have this other reframe that I like as well. It's a business related one. Imagine this is a business, right? Imagine this is an organization. It's your company, right? This is your business. And it's not doing very well. It's struggling, right? It's not making money. It's not making profit. And so you're the CEO. What do you do? Do you say, oh, well, going to go bankrupt, going to go bust? It is what it is, right? Or do you say, I'm going to step up. I'm going to show up. I'm going to make sure this business succeeds. I'm going to make sure this business thrives, right? First piece is believing in your business, believing in your company, believing in what you're doing, right? Simon Sinek, I love him. He says that a business isn't about how much money it makes. A business is about the destination, right? The employees aren't going, oh, how much money, how much money? No, the companies are going, where are we going? The goal, like we're headed somewhere. The best companies, the most successful companies know their destination, right? I invite you to really get clear on your intrinsic motivation. What is it that's going to make you show up? What is it that is going to make you commit? For me, there were so many different pieces to it, but there was fear. I didn't want to go bust. I didn't want to go bankrupt. That scared the crap out of me. It was more scary to go bankrupt than to show up. Right? B, I really wanted to help other people. I wanted meaning. I wanted purpose. And meaning and purpose and finding my path that was meaningful and purposeful, game changer. And I very, very much wanted to be a mom. That was like, I was like, there is no way I'm not going to get my shit together and become a mom. Like that was a huge piece as well that drove me. Like I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to be a good mom. So I wanted to get my shit together. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be healing my traumas. I wanted to be I wanted to lead by example as a mother, as a parent, and as a mentor and a leader in many ways. One day, hopefully, as well. Like I have a lot of ambitions, but I wanted to lead by example because I was very aware that we set an example, whether we like it or not. people around us are going to be influenced and impacted by us. I used to be a very bad influence. I used to be a horrible influence. My behaviors were really bad. And I was a bad influence on people. And when I started kind of shifting into this like figuring out what I want, and I realized I didn't want to be a bad influence anymore. I wanted to lead by example. I wanted to be a good influence. So when you get clear on your values, you get clear on your motivations, you can find the drive to step up and show up and be the CEO of this, right? Now let's imagine you've got the production line, manufacturing down here. Up here, you've got marketing, sales, R&D, right? Research development. You've got all of that going on up here, all the thinking parts. And then you've got HR at the heart. So many businesses leave HR to the last bit. HR is so important because HR takes care of all the employees. HR makes sure things like run smoothly and that everything's working in order, right? And then you've got customer service, the communication, right? Feedback loop, that takes the emotions, right? Customer service, how bad is customer service in general? I don't know if it's bad where you're at, but I know that like in Spain, in Mallorca, at least it's horrific. In Israel, horrific. Customer service was always like, seriously? Like, is there no training in customer service on how to serve people, how to be kind, how to be nice, how to be polite? The amount of times I've been hung up on or just been spoken to really badly, and how just awful customer service is usually. And it's like, it's the most important piece of the business. It's the feedback loop. Hey, how's my product going? Oh, is it going well? What do I need to tweak? What do I need to change? How am I feeling? How's it like? It's such an important piece of this business, right? It's like the emotions. It's the feedback loop. It's checking in. It's what's going on. It's where there's a problem, where there's not a problem. Like if you're a business and you're putting out a product or a service, the feedback, is it working? Is it doing what it's meant to be doing? Your product, your service, like that's a very key ingredient to success is knowing if what you're doing is even helping, providing value, doing what it's meant to be doing. Otherwise, you're going to go bust, right? So yeah, and HR, making sure everyone's happy, everyone's got what they need, you know, and let's say one of your departments is malfunctioning, right? So what do you do about that? Do you just sit there going, shit, something's not working. I don't know what to do. All right. What do? You can do something about it, right? And I also want to tell you that you can go and learn how to rebuild a department. You can go and learn how to train customer service. You can go and learn how you can be everything that your business needs you to be. Or you can outsource and you can hire someone to come in and train your customer service for you, or train your R&D department for you, or rebuild the HR department or the manufacturing line, production line, and speed it, like, you know, make it work more smoothly. Like you can outsource, you can hire for these things, right? If you don't have the money to hire, then yes, you can learn by yourself. You can learn. We have so many resources available to us today. We live in an era of the internet, which is, we have so much at our fingertips. Like in this little machine in our pockets, we have access to the entire wisdom of the universe or whatever. It's just, you can learn anything. There have been Olympic athletes that have learned javelin or high jump or whatever it was that I remember reading about, and he learned it on YouTube. He was in Africa, this African guy, said, I'm going to learn how to do this, and he got so good at it, they ended up being in the Olympics. Self-taught on YouTube. There is no excuse. There is literally no excuse not to learn how to do something, It's just how much do you believe that you can? Then how much do you want it? Often we really want it, but we don't believe that we can do it. So the belief piece is a very, very big piece, right? And the question is, as a CEO, are you going to embrace that? Because you are. You are the CEO of yourself. You are the boss of you, whether you like it or not. It's only you that can do what needs to be done to make this a success. The question is, will you do it? Get very honest with yourself. Right? So it's like, you hear all these things like take responsibility for your own life and la, 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 la. And that sounds very kind of shaming in a way, but it's not. It is, I want you to see it as empowerment. Shit, I can be the CEO of this bitch and really make it a success. I can step up and I can find the things that I need to make this work really, really, really well. You can. And I just really wanted to invite you to view it like that. You are the boss of you. And if something isn't working, figure it out. And you have a framework to do that now. Investigate the symptom, discover what the root cause is, get educated about how other people in similar situations with similar experiences, with similar backgrounds, with similar anything like you, how have they done that? Then implement. Rinse and repeat. Okay? It sounds very simple. It is hard-ish to do, but it is doable. And the thing is that now like when you have a framework, you have a strategy, like you know what to do. And if you need, you can hire a consultant to come in and help you solve the problem. You can hire a coach in when you know if you know what the department, where the problem is and in which department, you can have a coach to come in, a specialized, assistant for that area. Cool. But I didn't have one single shrink ever tell me that I could figure it out. And I think that that is a disservice. I've been told in the past that giving false hope is doing a disservice. Telling people that they can heal from their diagnoses is a disservice because it's giving false hope. And I say that the majority of what we are taught and conditioned and programmed and told does the exact opposite, which keeps us disempowered, which keeps us sick. And that to me is the disservice. I'm just trying to balance it out. I'm just trying to say that statistically, I see that most of us can heal. Most of us can figure our own shit out. We just don't know how. No one has ever taught us how. Which is where I step in. And again, it's not just me. There are so many people out there now teaching, empowering, educating, equipping. There are so many tools, so many modalities, so many holistic healing methods and alternative therapies and practices and practitioners. It is a beautiful thing that is happening. I am just part of this movement, right? I'm just one other person that sees the potential of harnessing human potential and healing our intrinsic, like, I was going to say God-given, but I don't believe in God. I believe in, like, I don't know what I believe in, like, yet I don't have a word for it, but whatever, like God-given, right? Ability to heal. We are a product of nature, right? We are nature. We are a living thing. You get a scratch, you get a cut, it heals. Yes, when you get really, really old, it takes really, really much longer and cells to regenerate and stuff like that. But I mean, like, if you're under the age of like 70, even the age of 70, your skin heals, it's fine. I'm just saying that, have you seen it in babies though, by the way? Like, have you noticed how quickly a baby's like scratch cut heals? It is ridiculous. It's like 2 days, it's gone. Like, I don't like, I invite you to look at things that we really take for granted and are just completely desensitized to, that are amazing, and just be like, shit, holy shit, there was a cut here last week and now it's gone. Like, it's just gone. Do you not, like, we don't even notice that. We don't even pay attention. It's just like, yeah, and scratch, Emily. And I'm just like, no, but we can heal. We can heal ourselves. It has been scientifically proven too that there are things like, if you change your lifestyle and your habits and your beliefs and your thoughts and your behaviors, then we heal. We really do. So that is my message that I'm spreading based on my experience in my life and my path and the evidence that I have seen, not just read in books. Like, I've literally done it. I've been there and I have walked this walk, and I can tell you that it works. And I'm helping my clients do that, and it works. And I'm helping friends do it for themselves. And I see it. I see it. There's like, I see MS going into remission. I see chronic pain disappear. I see, people coming off their meds. I also see people going on certain meds and being able to work on, like, really make progress on a shit ton of the other stuff. Like, it is really more about learning yourself, reconnecting with yourself, developing this relationship with yourself, committing to yourself, to knowing better so that you can do better and be better and feel better and live a happier, healthier life, because you deserve it. And because we have one life. There's a book here that I really like this book, by the way, The Tools. It was here, it caught my eye. I wanted to mention this as well. In The Tools, it's this, okay, so I don't know if you guys know Phil Stutz. There's a documentary about him called Stutz on Netflix right now by Jonah Hill. It's Jonah Hill's shrink. It's like a celebrity shrink, right, in America. And he, so in the documentary, he basically says that he's been a shrink for like 40 years. And from the get-go, he really struggled with how limiting traditional therapy was. Like, he would get a patient and the patient would say, help me. And he would be like, I don't have how to help you. I don't have a tool to teach you. He was like going to a supervisor saying, is there something I can give him or tell him that can help him today? Like, I want him to leave the office feeling like he's had a breakthrough. He's had a shift. He's had something. And the supervisor was like, no. We don't get involved with that process. We're just there to hold space and to validate and to listen and to blah, 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 whatever. Like, watch, if you haven't seen the documentary, it's really interesting. And I felt very validated. I was like, yes, a renowned shrink is telling it the way it is, that like, we can do better. Like, there's room for improvement here, right? And he has this book called The Tools. And in The Tools, it was interesting for me to read it, because there was a lot of the tools that he teaches based on the transformation and the results that he's been getting with them, with his patients. And I'm like, I've achieved those transformation, I've achieved those results. I just didn't have that tool. I did it a different way or a roundabout way or whatever. But it's nice that he's offering these tools to achieve the same transformation. But the fifth tool, the last tool in the book, is a tool that I really do want to share with you guys as well, because it's relevant to my piece here today. So he says, like, he's given these 4 tools that are great, but the problem is committing to them, right? The problem is actually implementing, actually applying. right? And like the fourth step in my model is application as well. Like you have, like, knowledge is power, but applied knowledge, that's where the gold is. Like that's where the magic happens, right? You have to apply what you know. It's like we know so much in our society, but we don't apply half of it, right? Which is why things look the way they look. So the point is that his fifth tool is a tool to motivate you, to move you to actually commit and show up and do the work and use the tools, right? And so I want to share that tool with you guys because it is obviously relevant. So he calls it Jeopardy. And he basically says you need to imagine yourself on your deathbed, looking back at yourself, and that, like, how would you feel on your deathbed about what you're doing or not doing? And that will give you the push, because we don't want to regret. We don't want to look back, like, how would it make you feel looking back? And it's actually a tool that I have been using subconsciously before I read about it, is this idea that I don't want to look back and feel like I missed out, I didn't do it, what if, regrets, like, it's helping me make this consistent decision to show up for myself, to be consistent, to make the commitment, right? Because, and by the way, I actually took it a step further and I wrote a letter to myself from the 90-year-old me. It's a great practice. So that can also be another piece of your homework today. Write a letter to yourself from like the 90-year-old you, right? So first of all, you can imagine like what she's like. Mine's very cool. She's very fun. She's very successful. She's very confident. And then what has she got to say to you? What are her words of wisdom? What does she want to say? And just like kind of have that in your mind and just rewrite, see what comes up for you. I did a lot of crying. It was very, very cool. And I think that it is a good tool. It's a good tool to have. So I do recommend the book, The Tools. I really, really love it. And as I said, like, I've found a way to achieve the transformations without using his specific tools, but I do think that the results are amazing. And so I love recommending his book. I think that I want to wrap it up because we're getting to an hour now, because I could continue, but I won't. I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to say that I will put together a little workbook PDF. I'll include the pre-work and my model, and a summary of the day 1 and the day 3s with the questions that I raised, that I invited you to answer, like values, etc. today. And also I'm going to add in there a few little resources, some free resources, people to follow, good TED Talks to watch, and books to read, just a few things to kind of get you started and get you going. I do want to say, when I said about motivation to get better and do better and be better, I really did immerse myself in self-development and in inspiring stories, and people who have really committed to themselves and their journeys and their missions and whatever, and transform themselves, transform their lives. Like, I wanted to see that example, right? And so, Sammy Rangel, the TED Talk that I spoke about on day 1, like, I'll link that in the PDF. Son of Hamas, the book, as well. But I would invite you to also find the people that inspire you. Consciously surround yourself, immerse yourself, expose yourself to the stories and the examples that are going to influence you. Be intentional and conscious about how you're being influenced, because we are. It's how we learn. We're very influenced by the people around us and by the stories and by the things that are going on. So It really does help when you want to believe in yourself, when you want to believe in your capabilities and your abilities and your potential for healing and getting better and helping yourself and meeting your own needs. Find the examples to learn from, to emulate. That, I think, is going to be it. That's it. Okay. So, quick recap, guys. Problems are actually symptoms. My model: investigate the symptom, discover the root cause, get educated about how others have solved that root cause, and then apply whatever feels the right fit for you. Maybe there's a few things, right? Rinse and repeat, trial and error. It might take a bit of experimentation. You can do this. And then bear in mind the 4 pillars that are very important to keep in mind and to make sure that you've got covered, right? The curiosity piece, the conditioning piece, the conditions, and the commitment, right? And then commit. Make a conscious decision every day when you wake up to make the choices that are going to serve you. And be kind to yourself in that process. Small steps. Small is sustainable. Don't expect that you're going to take it all on at once. Don't expect that you're going to heal overnight. Don't expect that it's going to be smooth sailing and that it's a linear process. It's not. It is messy. It can get ugly. And there can be a dark night of the soul where it gets really difficult before you get, there's like breakdown before the breakthrough. And my internet is going bad, so I am going to pop off and hope that you heard that. Okay. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to share with anyone who you think will benefit from this. And yes, I got you. I'm so excited. Please tell me how this has been landing, any takeaways, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And I shall see you all soon. Bye.